Welcome to the Nightly Rant. I'm Mike.
And I'm Toria.
This is the show where we talk about the awful things that have happened in our day, the awesome things that have happened in our day,
and all the things in between.
Thanks for listening, and we truly hope you enjoy. So today was different.
Why? Because we were both sick?
Well,
and unmotivated?
There was that.
And grumpy?
There was all that, yes.
Maybe a little feisty at best?
But we have a visitor.
A house guest?
A guest of the house.
First the cat, then the owner.
Yes. Parker's mama is here. Ashley.
At least she's not a permanent house guest.
Right. But she's here, and like this morning was all weird because I'm taking her to the train station. And
why are you causing a ruckus while we podcast? A literal ruckus.
I didn't think about that until
there was jingling. There was claws. Just for everybody to know, the noise is because he threw this stupid owl for the Yog of Dogs.
Hear him? Anyway, now Odie wants to know who I'm talking to.
Because he's
giving me
dingus.
Weird looks. No, he's a control freak, man. This dog wants to have control over everything.
He doesn't care who you're talking to.
He's diabolical.
Hold on. He doesn't give a shit who you're talking to. He wants my Twinkie wrapper.
Yes. He's diabolical, this dog.
He's after it.
No wonder he got to be 30-something pounds. Can you imagine the wool he pulled over that lady's eyes? It's not as slick here. But
there's more eyes watching him here.
You know what? Because I said it, he's guilty.
Is he now?
That's how it seems these days. If you get accused of something...
How is that fair?
If you're accused of something, you're automatically found guilty. That's right. How is that fair?
So are we also going to blame him for breaking the window? Because I'm pretty sure he just, herded his fat ass into the window.
Well, yeah. I mean, you blame him for whatever he does.
I see.
But the point is that people are blaming people for things that they never did, but then they're automatically found guilty.
Well, they're automatically not found guilty, but deemed guilty by society.
Yes, and what happened to being cautious and thinking, well, they probably didn't do it?
It's the same thing we talk about every other night on this podcast.
Is it?
It is. Because, okay, we've established people are assholes, so that's a factor. But the other main theme of we've talked about 100 million times...
But okay, but whoa. Are all people assholes?
No.
What percentage of people are assholes?
97.8%.
So it's a really high percentage.
Yes.
So, just like they say, well, if a woman accuses a man of sexual harassment or sexual assault, it's probably 97% of the time it's true. So it's about the same high number, right?
Well, but, okay, that's not what I meant so much.
Okay.
All the people who are just they're either condemning her or condemning him are assholes. Not just condemning him.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, the people who are sitting firmly in the middle and, waiting for facts and, weighing the evidence and actually putting some fucking intelligent thought into something for once aren't the problem.
Well, no, but see, okay. It's really easy for someone to make an accusation, and then, in the mind of society, they only need one corroborating witness. See, that's why I have a problem with the Dr. Ford's situation, is I'm not going to say that what she says happened to her didn't happen to her, and I'm not going to say that she's lying, but what I am going to say is that she has not shown me that she's reliable enough that I should believe what she says without evidence.
Right.
Now, you tell me something like that, Without evidence, I'm going to believe you because you've established credibility with me. She has no credibility with me, and she needs to establish it. But see, in our society today, you just need one person to corroborate what you say, and you are taken care of.
Right, and it doesn't matter what relation that person is to you most of the time.
Right, just one person. And that's what I rail against, is that it needs to be more than just one person.
Well, especially in this specific situation, because there were so many other people who could have potentially been involved, or potentially had the exact same thing happen to them, that somebody else out there should be able, somebody she doesn't even know, should be able to, like, say, this was something that happened at these things.
And you're right. It's like they chose a path, and no matter what, that's what they're set to try to believe. I bet you're right. At some point, and this is what bothers me, you would think that, come on, at least one person is going to back you up.
Well, especially since part of her story is that these were regular, ongoing rape parties.
Right.
Now, that implies that there were regularly new victims.
Right.
Because if it's rape, there's a victim.
Well, and that's the other thing that
now,
bothers
if they were
me.
orgies, it's different.
That's the other thing that bothers me is they say that like 77% of women who are assaulted do not report it to the police. But what bothers me about how that's approached is it's not a... now we're going to be talking about debating, okay? And that's not a upfront and honest way of debating, because you're ignoring the fact that, well, let's see.
23%
If 77% don't report it, 23% do. So keeping it conservative, essentially, out of every 10 attacks, 8 are not reported. But that means 2 are.
Right.
So are you going to tell me that in the course of 2 years, where they have regular weekly rape parties, that they weren't going to hit 10 women that had been attacked? Just 10 in all that time.
Yeah.
And then they say to me, well, of course, Dad, that's ridiculous. It's way more than 10. Okay, but let's just stick with 10. In my example, how many reported it? 2. So then why, if there were way more than 10, why have there been 0 reports?
Oh yeah. Okay. I was having this conversation with somebody on Facebook the other day about the difference between rape and regret. So there's that percentage of people who've done the thing, consented to the thing, and then changed their mind later.
Regret.
That's not rape. And I honestly feel like there's a set of people who are calling that rape, and it's not. That's a problem. Because they're making...
Well, but that's what I'm trying to say. That's my whole point. I mean, let me spell it out. In this day and age, okay, accusation is the new guilt. So, all I gotta say is you did something, and you're guilty. And here's the problem. Like, if somebody... What I keep trying to say is if one person comes forward, at least you'd be able to say there's a high likelihood that the person's telling the truth.
Right.
But the more, the better.
Right.
So, and it's what they... You're exactly right. What they say is, there's people on the periphery, like, okay, let's face it. There's people in our apartment building that we've noticed that sometimes don't notice us ever.
Right.
And then there's others that eventually notice us, etc. So there's always a percentage of people around in your daily life that could go to the police and tell the police, well, they walked their dog at, 10 o'clock at night every night, and they would walk this path, and they would do this, and they would do that. You don't even know those people exist.
Right.
But they're there.
They see you, and you don't
they
even
see you,
know
and you don't
they
even
exist.
realize that they exist. Okay?
I would guess that a lot of the people who live in the surrounding apartment buildings are those people.
Yes.
Because you cruise by with the dog, they see you out the window every day.
Yeah.
Like
you
the lady
never
with the pug.
and you never really see them.
Right.
Yeah. And so for me, that's where I come up with the whole, accusation is a new guilty, because people don't even want a corroborating witness anymore. They just say it. No, you're guilty of it. And they start, like in discussions I've seen on Facebook where they call the Judge Kavanaugh guy, a sexual deviant. Well, I'm sorry. Where's the proof of that?
Right.
Like, you want to say that about Trump? There's tape. Okay? And you can explain that away as locker room talk, whatever. He still used the language that he used. He meant what he meant by those comments. And that kind of makes him a little bit of a pervert, okay?
Yeah.
But you can't say that about the judge because you have a woman accusing him of it. That's it.
Right. Yeah,
It's he said, she said.
This seems like the kind of situation where I'm going to sit firmly on the fence for the rest of time. Because there's never going to be the evidence to tell me that he did it.
See,
and there's never going to be the evidence to tell me he didn't do it.
People don't understand the whole... I heard many people... And I'm happy for this, okay? I'm happy for this. But many people saying, well, I always stand with the victim. And see, I'm happy for that, except that I have a problem with it personally. Because... essentially, when there's a person accusing another person of doing something wrong, either that person is lying or that person's telling the truth. Those are the only two possibilities. It's a true-false scenario. Either you did it or you didn't. Okay, well, if that person making the accusation... is lying... then they have zero credibility. You don't believe anything they say after that. Make sense?
Yes.
But if the person's telling the truth, well, then the person who's being accused, that's denying it, they are not deserving of any credibility.
Precisely. Did you witness this dog just absolutely shove the pillow up from under my head so that he could lay under my head?
Yes, I did. He's laying there looking sad and goofy.
Well, he's sad because you took away his chips.
But the point here is that I don't... In my terms, I don't believe either one of them. I don't disbelieve either one of them. I'm kind of neutral with either one of them because I don't think we're going to have anybody who's going to come. I mean, at this point, I'm sorry, but after all the hoopla that I gave and how long it took for them to bring her forth, you want to know why they took so long to bring her forth in my mind? They were trying to find corroborating witnesses.
Which seems legit. Why would you want to... If their story is true...
And that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Here's the thing. I'm, again, not bashing her. I'm saying she did the right thing by trying to find corroborating witnesses.
Right.
She hasn't found any, though. So that makes me say, all right, well, you could be telling the truth. You could be not telling the truth. We don't know, based off of the fact that there's nobody to say, yeah, she's telling the truth, or no, she's lying.
She said in her testimony that he specifically, and his friend dude, that I can't remember the name of, did this to multiple people. He specifically. Okay. That's just putting that out there. When Bill Cosby was accused, people came out of the fucking woodwork accusing him of the exact same thing over his entire career, okay? When that Harvey Weinstein dude, people came out of the woodwork. They heard one person come forward and they're like, oh, my cue is now.
Yeah.
Where are the other ones?
There were two more.
And they were both completely
discredited.
And I know that some of the people who accused Harvey Weinstein and some of the people who accused Bill Cosby were also discredited. So that's some. But there was other people who were credible people saying the similar situation had happened to them. And why, if this went on for 2 years, why isn't there anyone else?
Exactly. That's where my brain goes. But again,
and if someone else is out there, they need to come forward.
The one thing in my mind that keeps me from being able to say I don't really believe her is the 97% statistic or the 77% statistic. That makes me believe her because there's a 77% chance that she wouldn't report it.
Right.
And she didn't report it. So, no surprise there. I can't disqualify her because she didn't report it. It's more likely than not that you're not going to report it. But see, that's a thing. Like, I've experienced false accusations. We've discussed how you haven't. But I've experienced false accusations against myself.
Well, I don't know that I haven't. I have a headache, so I can't really remember.
And the experience, in my opinion, was that all anyone who wanted to make a false accusation had to do was have someone to back up their claim.
Even if someone backing up their claim was like their best friend and cohort in the accusation.
Yeah, it would as long as they're backing up the claim, society believes them.
Right.
And you're giving reasons why society should be suspicious. But I'm going to tell you, just the fact that they get to speak to somebody else about what their position is before that person decides to join them or not creates a bias.
When I was taking, I don't know, social studies in like the 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, I just remember the teacher.
So last year.
Shut up. The teacher was all like, question everything. You read a news story, question everything. Because the only way you're going to get an accurate picture of what actually happened is to question everything.
Well, you know what's interesting? Kind of relates. When I was learning to be a technology professional, I worked with a guy who, these days, I don't agree with his politics at all. He's a much older guy than me. But he used to say...
he must be like the oldest man in the world.
He used to say... He was the one who used to say, first things first, second things never.
Uh-huh.
And he used to say, question your assumptions. And that was because, you know, when you're trying to fix a computer thing, you're like, well, tell me, what happened right before that? And then they tell you things, and you start to assume, oh, well, they were trying to print, so it must have something to do with printing. When the reality is, it doesn't have anything to do with printing at all.
Right.
You know? And you have to question your assumptions in order
Right.
to solve problems. Well, that's your situation.
So I read a news story now, and I'm like, this doesn't add up, this doesn't add up, this doesn't add up, this doesn't have enough information. Explain to me what the fuck you were trying to say here. And I question all of the things that don't just automatically make sense in my head. Some articles there's more things that don't make sense, and some articles there's less, obviously. But I question all of the things. And usually, if I see a thing and I do some digging, I find out, oh, so this reporter is just an idiot and doesn't know how
Right.
to not be a biased savage. Got it.
Well, unfortunately, what you're describing is a situation that we have today where you have no other choice but to do your own research.
Right.
Because if you don't do your own research, I'm telling you right now, you are most definitely being led around by the nose.
Right. And so with this situation, I question the inconsistencies in what she's saying, and I've questioned the inconsistencies in what he's saying, and there's no answer to any of the inconsistencies because it happened 36 freaking years
Right,
ago.
so it has to kind of stay that way.
But there's
And
so
that's the
many
problem.
questions.
And that's the problem. And I mean, I'll be honest with you. If I was the president of the United States, I would withdraw the nomination.
Just
and
in
I would
case.
withdraw the nomination because, you know what? I'm honestly in a spot where I can't believe her, but I can't disbelieve her. I can't believe him, I can't disbelieve him.
If he withdraws his nomination, does the dude get to go back to the job he was holding before
Yes.
that?
It's a job interview, essentially.
I just want to...
So I think
Politics here is
that
hard.
would be the best solution. And just put someone else up there. But I think they're worried about the midterm elections, and they want to get this through before then. That's what I think.
I think at this point, the Democrats aren't going to let it go through before then. So he should probably, if he's smart enough to do what you're suggesting he do, he should probably do it now. Because then, wouldn't he have the opportunity to appoint somebody else or nominate somebody else instead? Or is it a long
Well, yeah, and he'll always have that opportunity until he gets elected, kicked out of office.
I know, but if he were to nominate somebody else like tomorrow, would they potentially make it through for the midterm elections?
I highly doubt it.
Takes longer than that? I see.
I mean, we're a month away from that.
Well, I don't know how long the process takes. I only assumed the process was taking this long because of all the accusations.
But that's exactly what would happen again.
Oh.
That's the way the politics game is played. Delay, 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 obstruct, obstruct, obstruct. We have a filibuster rule. You don't want something to be voted on as long as you can keep talking. As long as you can keep talking, you get to hold the floor.
If she's not telling the truth, and that's a big if because I've already said that I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the fence. If she's
not telling the truth.
then after the election she'll just disappear into thin air.
Yeah.
The accusations will go away. Nobody will say anything about it ever again. It'll just go away.
Yeah. But, I hate to say this, it's also going to put women's rights way back, because it's going to be like, see, you can't trust them, they're going to lie.
See, okay, this is the other half of the discussion I was having with my friend. She's insisting that this male patriarchy in society is what's keeping women down. And I honestly feel like it's, at this point, crazy women keeping other women down. Because there's the people who are like crazy feminists, we hate men, we should chop off all their penises, like, just disown, send them all to the moon and we'll be done with it and it'll be all women's society. And they make women look bad, and they make men not respect women. And they're the loudest, so we've talked about this.
Okay, I'm going to use a show that we watch, 90 Day Fiancé.
Okay.
Darcy and Jesse. Now, I'm sorry, you can think anything you want about Jesse. You can say he wants to get on TV, whatever. Guess what? More power to him. If that was a marketing ploy, because don't forget, if you believe the premise of the show, they knew each other in this relationship and then applied.
Right.
How did he manage to get lucky enough to get a psychopath like that was full of so much drama that he could get great airtime?
Well, I don't think it was a marketing ploy.
See? And people think that. But even if it was a marketing ploy, more power to him for pulling it off.
Yeah. I think maybe
he's pretty popular.
I think maybe he was interested in an American because the American market is a lot bigger for what he wants to do with his life. But I don't think getting on the show was a marketing ploy.
No, I agree with you.
I even doubt that it was his idea.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was more likely her idea.
Yeah. But she was kind of normal in the first season she was on. And by normal, I don't mean personality-wise, I mean looks-wise.
There were hints though of her psychoses.
But she dressed kind of normal.
Yes.
And she didn't do anything funky with her hair.
She was actually slightly attractive.
Right.
At that point.
But then, between the first season and the second season, she got like an assload of plastic surgery, lost a crap load of weight, and started dressing like a floozy.
Yeah.
Like, she just went full crazy. And this is after the dude that she was seeing told her he liked it better when she didn't wear makeup because he thought she was beautiful without it. And she went like, I'm going to apply 10,842 layers of foundation to my face every single day.
Yep.
Kind of makeup.
Yep. Or you're talking about like the people who do the super white foundation. But I don't know. I think a lot of this is just your perspective, unfortunately. And by that I mean I have been accused wrongfully. So, because I've been accused wrongfully, I see the issue a little bit differently. And some of the women that I've talked to, at least the real honest ones, will tell you, well, I've been a victim, and so that's why I believe the victim. And if you think about it, if those are the numbers, if you were a victim, so you're going to believe the victim, then that means that 100%, it'd be a 1-to-1 match. Okay. Anyway, the point here is very simple. People would be lending their support to those people who were being abused, and hopefully make them stronger and step up and talk. Because for my situation, I push it only so hard, and then I let it go. Whether you think you can win or not, you only push it so hard. You have to think through what you're doing, and I just think most people don't even spend 2 seconds thinking about what they're doing.
Well, of course not.
And I guess that kind of brings us back to the beginning, where you said that we've kind of proven that through these episodes that people are assholes.
Oh, yeah.
And what was the second issue?
That I never got to say?
Yeah.
And people never think things from beginning to end.
Which we just reached that same conclusion.
That was the second thing. So we kind of reached it in a roundabout way.
But isn't that interesting, is what I'm getting at?
Yes.
That without me knowing what you talked about, somehow we ended up, what you were thinking, somehow we ended up proving that as the point.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. But, again, you're right. It's true. It's how things are. So, I guess what we've shown here is the way the truth actually works can be slightly different depending on where your perceptions are, where your thinking is, what your past experiences have been.
And we've talked about multiple hundreds of thousands of times before how we come from very different places and very different types of people.
Yep.
Very different things. Yet this issue is a place where we agree. Because we've both taken the time to... Well, we mostly agree. I realize there's slight differences. We've both taken the time to put thought into what's going on and then just applied our personal experience to it. And that's why there's slight differences.
Exactly. And I mean, that's how, if you really think about it, that's how it should work.
Right.
And you're right, people don't... and that's part of the whole not thinking it from beginning to end. People also quit too soon. They don't go far enough down the path.
Right.
You're driving someplace, and I've been in some cities. Most cities around here, the freeway signs are about a mile apart. So that means the off-ramps are about a mile apart.
Are about a mile apart.
They're about a mile apart. And then there's certain areas where it's really close, like half a mile. But it doesn't change anything because you have your perspective of what a mile is. So it's still the same. And I think it's just the perspective that people come at is why they see it differently. And it also depends on your degree of hatred towards the president. The more you hate the president, the more intolerant you are of any choice he ever makes. The more you love the president, the more tolerant you are of anything he does.
Well, and what's interesting is we also both sit firmly on the Trump fence. Sometimes he's a fucking idiot. Sometimes he does okay things.
I don't think his interpersonal skills are all there. They suck, okay? Period. He doesn't know how to act around other people, and this is a sad testimony. Did you hear how he went to the UN and they laughed at him? Because he was talking about all the great accomplishments he's had, and they laughed at him. Well, want to know what the latest opinions are? That the rest of the world is going to pay because they laughed at Donald Trump. And that's the problem.
That's alarming.
Like I said, I've been wrongfully accused. Mm-hmm. And your initial reaction, and it's why what you say about taking the time to think it through and research and make sure that your facts are straight, why that's important is because at first you're emotional and you just want to lash back.
Right.
But lashing back's going to be the mistake in a lot of cases. So instead you take your time and you think it through and you figure out the right path, and then, and only then, do you commit to going down that path.
Well, like we did last time you were falsely accused of something. We gathered all the facts. We knew exactly why that person was saying what they were saying. And then we found the best course of action for you to take. And it appears to have succeeded.
So far.
The gnat has gone away.
Exactly. So, I don't know. But that's where I fall on this issue.
And with that, good night, everyone.
Hasta la bye-bye la cucaracha.
Hi everyone, this is Mike, and I truly hope you enjoyed this show. You're able to subscribe to this show on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher so as to never miss an episode. If by chance you did miss an episode here or there, you can catch up on all shows, past and present, by heading over to yogispodcastnetwork.com/TNR show. Thanks for listening.